All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll be starting here in just a minute with some office hour sessions. So give me 1 second to finish getting my screen ready here. Okay, I think we should be good now. All right, I'll go ahead and just get us started since we don't have a ton of time today. But what I always like to point out is during this session, this is a casual, meant to be an opportunity for you all to ask particular questions if you are in a bonusly trial or looking, to set things up on your end. Um, I'm going to go through some best practices. Today, we're talking a little bit about configuring your account, but please don't hesitate if you have questions. I know in the past we were having issues with being able to send a chat. So if you're not able to send a chat, let me pull up the Q&A feature too. You're welcome to use the Q&A feature and I will try to keep an eye on that. All right. With that in mind, let's talk a little bit about setting up your account, getting ready to launch with either a group of your organization or your entire organization. One of the very first things that's important to note is to be able to access the tools needed to do that, as well as make changes. You do have to have admin access. So you should, if you started your own account, you will have global access, or if you worked with a salesperson, they've assigned it. But if not, let me show you where to do that. So I'm coming over here to the right-hand side of the screen, clicking on the avatar, the picture, and then manage admin settings. Only admins will be able to see this. An end user who doesn't have admin permissions won't even see that blue button. It just doesn't even exist for them. So I'm going to click on manage admin settings. That takes me to like the admin experience, landing you on the dashboard, which is where you're always going to land when you go into your admin settings. And what I want to show you is your, making people admins in your account. So obviously you have to add your people into your account before you can make changes, and we'll go over that here in a minute. But in the event that you need to get some admins in there of some people that have already been in Bonusly, you'll come to the user accounts page here on the left-hand side on the toolbar, and then you'll go to edit users. This is where you can go to the permission tabs and you can toggle between. And if you're connected to an HRIS system, you won't be able to edit like the data here, the user information, but you will be able to edit permissions. So here, you can decide, do I want someone to have access to everything? Or there's different levels basically of access that you can assign to people based on what you need them to see and what they need to be able to do. So I'm going to go ahead and make this global access, meaning now this particular user has access to all the admin features. So some of the first things you'll want to think about as you're getting your account set up is, here on the left-hand side with our company pages. So under the admin tools company pages, the first one's pretty straightforward. That's account setup. Here's where you're going to do some of the basics. Naming your account, putting in your logo, deciding, hey, what default language do I want this to be in? It's going, sorry, not default, but what language do you want it to be in? It's going to default to English, but you can change. I will say that change impacts the platform. So here, I'll show you. So the tools and feature, like what things are called that are in Bonusly, that will be updated and be in the saved language, but recognition posts aren't necessarily, it's going to be in the language that's typed by a user. So let me just save that here. See if we need to maybe refresh. Ah, perfect. So as you can see now, I've changed my default overarching account settings to Spanish. That means everyone in my Bonusly account would have, Spanish as their tools and like utilizing the platform. If I go back to the homepage, you'll see here, there's some recognition posts that are still in English, and that's because those were typed in English. But everywhere else, all the different tools and pages, those have all been translated. So I'm going to head back, and while I can speak a little Spanish, it's not great. So I need to turn it back to English. Here we go. Anytime you change settings, you need to hit the save button at the very bottom. Otherwise, it won't go through. So we're going to do that and then refresh the page. There we go. Okay, now you have a little bit of other customization just below that I want to point out. And we put those in there to help make the experience more personalized, more human. But you, as an admin, do have a little bit of control over some of the features within Bonusly. So, for example, you can decide, I don't want people using their pictures on their profile, like we did here. You saw the pictures, um, which it logged me out of the account I was in, but that's okay. Um, you can also decide, all right, do I want people to be able to upload images? Do I want people to be able to use the GIF, which are those funny videos that like loop around that we, usually send in texts and whatnot? Makes it fun, adds a little whimsy to it. Do I want people to be able to give video recognition and record video recognition in Bonusly? All these things increase engagement, make it more personal, make it more human, help connect others. But we know that sometimes there are compliance issues, or you have specific security settings where there are things you just can't do. So just know you would make those updates here on the account setting page. You can also determine, filtering the leaderboard. That's not really something you need to worry about setting up your account. We can come back to that at another time. But you can decide, all right, do I want everyone to see all of the analytics? By default, all analytics are available to everyone in Bonusly. Again, transparency, connection, seeing what's going on across the organization. You can choose to hide that information though, as well as the leaderboard, if that's something that you would like to do. So you just toggle those here and then make sure you're hitting save. When you activate people in your Bonusly account, they're going to get a welcome email. And you can actually customize what that email is going to say so that you can tailor it to, your goals, your company, your voice, your tone, which is pretty cool. You can change the subject line, title. Here's a really great opportunity in the body to start to talk a little bit about like the why, like why are we launching this program? What are we setting out to accomplish? And then you can also change the call to action, right? If you want people to get in there and try it right away, we have a call to action in there, and you can rename it to something that works better for you. And then we also have an invite email. So that is if you're sending it to someone outside of your group of users that are already in Bonusly, you can send them a welcome email, or excuse me, invite. One of the things I love that we've added more recently is you can start to preview things so you know what it's going to look like. Again, you'll update this information down here. Scrolling down, a couple things just to note under the security area is having to do with like the domains of that your email addresses are attached to. If you have multiples, you can add those here so that people don't run into blockers or get blocked from accessing their account. And then it's also important, I think, to take a look at the login methods. We recommend anytime you can using like a single sign-on or going through Google, Office 365, MS Teams, because that's a more secure way over just going to a website, any website, typing in an email and then typing in a password. So we try to, give multiple options to make it as secure as possible. One requirement we do have is that all admins need to have secure access. So if you're not using single sign-on or connecting to, Google, something like that, admins of your account will need to have multi-factor authentication. So that's always that like two-step, hey, we're sending you a text and you need to verify. And that's intentional because admins of your account have access to change things within, can control, having to do with some of the finance information. And we always want to have that extra level of security to prevent any sort of bad actor from, getting into a system. Last thing I'll note on this page is we have logs, and this is helpful if you have people coming and going that are helping managing your Bonusly account. You can see a log of who's been logging into your Bonusly account, who has made changes to users, as well as who has made changes to your company, like overarching company Bonusly account. So you'll find that down here. You'll just click on it and it'll take you to the different log pages here. All right, so heading back, I'm just going to hit Save Settings. Here we go. All right, that's our account settings. So those are kind of one of the most important things you'll want to get set up before getting going. And then the next thing you want to think about is like, okay, how are we getting our users into the system? And there's a couple different ways to do that, depending on the size of your organization. Really small organizations, you can typically just add those in manually. It's a little work up front, but once you get that information in there, unless something changes, there's not much you have to do to continue to maintain it. So you can add a user one at a time, a 10-person company, that'd be pretty easy to do. You see here all the information needed. I always love to call out, you want to include manager email anytime you can, if you have it, because that unlocks so many other features that are specifically tailored to help managers support their teams. And without the manager email in there, you won't have access to those features. So you'll fill out this information and then you'll hit save to add the new member. Once the user is in there, that's when you can go in and potentially assign admin permissions if needed. So another way to add users to your account beyond just doing them one at a time, because obviously if you've got any larger than about 10 to 20, that could be very time consuming. You can actually do a bulk upload where there's a pre-formatted spreadsheet and you can get your users in there and then you upload it into the system. We also have an SFTP file that we update on a regular basis, as well as HRIS integrations. So the good thing is we have a very knowledgeable technical support team that, depending on what you're looking to do, we're happy to help you navigate making sure you're getting your users set up and into the system. If I go down here, if you are using an HRIS system, I like this manage user import page as kind of like the staging area. This is where I can see everyone in Bonusly, whether or not they're activated, deactivated, they were a tester. This is my staging area. And then when I click through to user accounts, that's my like active roster. Those are people who are able to give and receive recognition and that are currently a part of your seat count. And the seat count is kind of like licenses to be able to use Bonusly. Looking here at the user management integration, so we don't have one set up, but you can connect here. It's pretty straightforward. You do have to go to the integrations page, which we'll look at next, but we have great information depending on the HRIS that you're using, tips and tricks to help get that set up. One caveat I will make is that if you do have an integration, I don't have them off the top of my head, but there are a few that have a fee on their end. Bonusly doesn't charge anything for any of our integrations, but we have run into a few instances. So you'll want to check into that first because that could potentially, impact your budget, impact, your spending when it comes to the different tools that you're using. So now we're going to head over to the integrations page here. This is where all the integrations are, not just HRIS systems. But you'll see up here kind of what I talked about before. You can connect to HRIS. You can use SFTP credentials, which I won't go into all the details today, but there's a lot of great info in our Help Center. Here's where you can also integrate with collaboration tools like Slack, MS Teams, Google Chat. This is a really great way to pull Bonusly into the tools that your teams are already using and that potentially, depending, MS Teams, Slack are using regularly in their workflow. And that way they can do Bonusly, basically do Bonusly within those apps and they don't have to leave Slack or MS Teams. Scrolling down just a little bit, here's where you would connect to single sign-on. If you have issues with that, our support team is happy to help. And then we also have a couple display options. So kiosk mode, I find it very helpful in environments maybe where you don't have people sitting at desks all day. Maybe you have a break room or an area that with a shared computer. This allows people to safely, quickly, and securely log into their account, give out recognition, cash in for rewards, and then log out safely, and someone else could come right in and do that next. You don't have to worry about, uh, the changing between different logins and then running into issues. Like it makes it pretty seamless, which is handy. The digital signage option is really great if you, again, have people that aren't sitting at their computer all day. I've seen nurses use this, manufacturing. Maybe you have a break room and you can actually display Bonusly in those rooms so that people can connect to it, can connect to the recognition, can see that the work that's going on throughout the organization throughout the day when they don't have the opportunity to, to just sit and check it out on their computer. In addition to that, we have a mobile app, which is really easy to use. You can use all the same features. The only thing that's limited is some of the admin capabilities, like the admin settings. Otherwise, you can do everything you see in Bonusly on your mobile app. And then we do also have a widget that will require a little bit of technical expertise that you can take and put into like an intranet or something similar to that. All right, I'm just going to pause here for a second and see if we have any questions. I don't see any coming in just yet. Taking a look at our plans and billing pages, in order to get started with your Bonusly account, you have to have paid for your subscription. This one's canceled out because this is a demo. But then you also have to have a payment method for rewards on file. And that's so that people have the full availability of the entire platform. If you don't have either a credit card on file or a prepaid budget in place, people won't be able to redeem for rewards. So in order to get live, those are the two things you want to make sure you set up. We've got a lot of great information in our help center on, let me see here, like the reward billing options. And again, it usually works best. Oops, I can't type, depending on your company size. So here we go. You have the option to pay as you go. That's going to include a convenience fee, but you have some flexibility of, if you're not expecting a lot of redemptions. You have a flex plan, which is both of those are on credit cards, and those are then also including a convenience fee. You'll see the details here on this page. But we also always recommend the fixed plan, which is funding your account in advance, and you can use as low as $2,500 as a bill amount. And that way you have a lump sum available and people start chipping away at that, and then it'll automatically refresh for you. I always like to let people know, like, this is your money. Bonusly doesn't mark up any of the rewards costs. If you put $2,500 in and that's all you need for the whole year, then great. That's all you've needed for the whole year. But there is a little bit of liability in there where Bonusly is purchasing the gift cards and things before your team members are. And that's why you'll see that there's some convenience fees with credit cards. But we always recommend, if you're able to go with the fixed plan, which is, billing by invoice. And that way it creates a seamless experience. You don't have to worry about if a credit card expires or if the person managing it, something happens and they're out of the office and it interrupts, everyone's ability to use the platform. You don't have to worry about any of that because you've got a balance available for people to use. So definitely check out the Help Center. A lot of great information there to kind of go into more detail. You'll want to browse in all these admin tools. There's this billing history page, which helps you keep track of subscription as well as reward invoices. But the next thing I want you to keep into consideration is your reward catalog. So a couple of the things that you can do to tailor this experience is you can choose, first off, on the home page, you'll notice a section here at the top right. This is what are we calling these? Why is my brain like lacking? Promoted, promoted rewards. And at Bonusly, we promote a couple charities depending on the month and what, that month is recognizing. It also, so it will show the two things Bonusly are promoting or the two most recent things someone has cashed in for. But the great thing is, as an admin, you can actually change that. So back in my admin settings, maybe I'm going to click on over. I'm still in my company drop-down list. Rewards catalog. Let's say I want to promote something specific. You can come in here and say, I want to manually choose this month. I want people to have quick and easy access to donate to, I don't know, Special Olympics or something. So you can manually choose them. You can auto approve the ones Bonusly has, or you can just decide, hey, I don't want to promote anything at all. And it can just show most recent purchases. Another really fun thing about the reward catalog is that you can add in company exclusive. And those are a great way to build into the default reward catalog things that your team already loves, things that maybe you already have in stock. Maybe you've got a warehouse full of some swag. You can actually put it in here, catalog it, and keep track of it in Bonusly so people can cash in for it, and you'll have a record all in one spot. You'll see here we've got a couple different options. A local donation charity option. That's definitely a question that I see come up all the time is, hey, can we suggest or add in certain charities, local places that we want to donate to? And we don't have that ability at Bonusly because we work with different providers that are global. So the way to do that is actually create your own company exclusive and say it's like, I want to donate to my son's soccer team and we're having a fundraiser and people can choose to, put that in. It's probably not a great idea because it's very selfish of one person, but you get what I mean. It's very local. It's something that wouldn't be in our default catalog, and people can then redeem for those with their points in the catalog. Here you can choose you can see what's available in each catalog. So if you're a global organization and you want to say, hey, what do people in France have access to versus what do people in India or the United States have access to? All the catalogs are tailored with only what's available to that particular country. So it's not like, oh, there's all these things, but you can't get to it because it's only for the US or something like that. So that you have the ability, it automatically will do that for you. It's going to base it based on someone's location of the user data. But the other great thing about this is you have the ability as well to remove any rewards that you don't want into the catalog, as well as turn off specific amounts. And I see people do this when it's like, hey, we don't want anyone really redeeming over like, I don't know, 250 euros at a time. So then I could be like, hey, I'm just going to turn off the 500 € one so that people don't, it won't even show. They won't even know it existed. So they don't have that option. You can update it across the board as well, or just update it for that particular country. Okay, let's see. A couple more things under your program settings. You'll definitely want this in place before you get going. You have the ability, Bonusly is going to default to points. That is what you're exchanging. You're exchanging points, you're giving them out, you're collecting them so that you can then save up and cash in for things that are meaningful. You can rename that. I've seen high fives, tacos, stars. You can get really creative with it, but just know you can rename that in your program settings. And then here, I want to point this out. You can actually determine, do I want to be, excuse me, do I want people to be able to give out recognition with no points attached? And that's actually a really good way to keep engagement going if someone runs out of points. So maybe you have a 50-point budget set up. Every month, everyone gets 50 points. If you allow to give recognition without points, if I run out of my 50 points, I can still recognize people. I can still, call them out, share on their work, participate in the program and just do it without points attached. So you have the ability to either require points or not here. And then one of my other favorite features is this company value hashtags. So we use hashtags as a way to track your company values that are attached to recognition. So you'll want to take a look at, okay, you can require that every single recognition post has a company value attached to it, that's the one we usually recommend because that's going to give you the most meaningful data. And you'll run into not having people have a list of hashtags of like, you know, things that don't make sense, like high five or happy Friday or that sort of thing. Um, or you can just choose, hey, any sort of hashtag works for us, but the first hashtags are the most important in the analytics, and that's why we always recommend, putting the default to you have to have at least one company value hashtag. After that, go crazy, have fun, put in hashtags that you want to that are appropriate. Here's where you can add in your company values that will show up on the homepage, as well as a description. A lot of people maybe are using teamwork. Well, what does that mean? It's pretty vague. You can actually in here describe, okay, well, what does teamwork mean for our organization? Maybe it's some specific things that you're able to call out in there. That also helps people so that when they're giving recognition, they can identify which company value it goes to. And then at the end of the day, that data is showing you what the work people are doing, how that connects to your overarching company goals, your company mission. You'll be able to roll that all up to, those hashtags. All right, I've been doing a lot of talking, so I'm going to pause there for a moment, check in on the Q&A, chat, and go back to the homepage so we can just look at a few things there. I'm not seeing anything come out yet, so it looks like we're doing okay. But those are the things that you'll need to get set up to be able to launch Bonusly. Oh, in addition, depending on what you're deciding to do, you do need to come down here to recognition and peer-to-peer, and you need to be able to set up a monthly point allowance. So if you don't have a point allowance, people won't have points to be able to give out. You can customize that here. You can also set up rules. You can say, anyone in the leadership on the leadership team or in a certain department, they have way more team members than some of the others do. So we're going to give them additional points just for that group so that it's equitable. So that they, if you only have 10 points and you have way more team members, you run out pretty fast. And you're not able to recognize everyone. So you have the ability to actually set up rules that say, hey, give these people different amounts of points based on the settings that you put in there. And then you can choose to customize the recommendations in the give box. And that's a really helpful thing, especially if people aren't familiar with a recognition platform, to set some expectations of like what type of work gets what type of points, right? Like you wouldn't necessarily, if you have a large budget and you have someone saying, oh, you typed up this form for me, here's 100 points. And then someone else is like, hey, you spent an entire week, balancing your schedule, helping me out, here's 5 points. You can actually, on your homepage, determine, all right, how many points do we want to kind of recommend people to give? And then they'll start to see over time, like, oh, 10 points is kind of like this level of effort. All right. Those are some of the most important things for setup, account setup, I should say. But don't stop there. Definitely hit up the Bonusly LMS or Help Center if you need more information. But that's kind of the basics just to get your account ready to go. And then from there, and the great thing about Bonusly is you can roll it out in phases. You could start with just peer-to-peer recognition and then come back to it and say, you know what? Now I want to add birthdays and celebrations, or now I want to add spot awards in there. You can approach it that way and set up your programs at a later date, which is another session that we have together. So I'll stop talking. I have a few minutes left. If you got questions, I'm here for them. If not, that's pretty much everything we were going to cover today. But please don't hesitate to reach out. You can get to us at support@bonus.ly. The Help Center is a really great spot to get information needed as well. So yeah, let us know. And if you need to leave, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll hang on for a few minutes in case questions come up. Thanks for being here. Okay, we are officially at 30 minutes past the hour, so that is all of our time for today. Oh, yes, you will get a copy of the recording. Well, that'll come out about 24 hours after this session. So great question. Thanks for asking. But thanks for being here and check into one of our next sessions to learn more as you're getting your account set up. Thanks for being here.